Quick question. What's your plan if a bear attacks you right now? No weapons, no tools, just you. Yeah, didn't think so. Here's the thing though. Your ancient ancestors had exactly the same problem, except worse because they didn't have 911, insurance, or the ability to Google how to survive a bear attack while already being attacked by a bear. So they did something about it. They invented weapons. A lot of them. And honestly, some of the ways they did it are unhinged. From the first sharpened stone to the bow and arrow, here's the full history of why ancient humans started using weapons, and what they actually needed them for. The earliest human weapons weren't really invented at all. They were just found. Evidence shows humans were using rocks as tools and weapons as far back as 2.6 million years ago. Picked up off the ground, no crafting required. A rock is, in fact, an extremely effective piece of technology. It's hard, it's heavy, and it was lying right there. Sometimes the best engineering is just noticing that a problem-shaped object already exists in nature. From there came the club, a heavy branch, sometimes weighted with bone or stone, used for close-range striking. No sharpening required. Just mass, swung with intent. And then came the spear, arguably humanity's first real piece of engineered weaponry. Early spears were nothing more than a wooden shaft, sharpened at one end, sometimes hardened in fire to make the tip more durable. The Schöningen spears, discovered in Germany, are estimated to be roughly 300,000 years old, meaning humans have been sharpening sticks and pointing them at things for an almost unthinkably long time. None of this required metal. None of it required complex tools. It just required a problem, staying alive, and a willingness to turn literally anything nearby into a solution. A sharpened stick is good. A sharpened stick with a stone point attached to it is significantly better. Once early humans learned to knap flint into fine points and lash them onto wooden shafts using resin or sinew, the spear went from sharp stick to genuinely lethal weapon technology. This innovation is estimated to be at least 71,000 years old, and it fundamentally changed what a spear could do. Deeper penetration, more lethal wounds, and weapons that could be mass-produced with a consistent, reliable design. But there was still one enormous limitation. To use a spear, you had to get close. And getting close to something with teeth, claws, or tusks is exactly the kind of decision that tends to shorten your life expectancy. Ancient humans clearly understood this problem too, because their next invention was built entirely around solving it. This next weapon doesn't get nearly enough credit, considering it might be one of the most important inventions in human history. It's called the atlatl, a spear thrower, and it is genuinely humanity's first mechanical weapon. A simple stick with a hook on one end that holds a lightweight spear called a dart. By using the atlatl as a lever, a hunter could effectively extend the length of their own arm, launching a dart with dramatically more force and distance than a bare-handed throw ever could. This wasn't a minor improvement. This was a fundamental leap in physics applied to survival, humans figuring out leverage and force multiplication tens of thousands of years before anyone wrote the word physics down. The atlatl appears to have emerged sometime in the Paleolithic era, with archaeological evidence from Europe dating back roughly 18,000 years. Though many researchers believe its true origins go back even further. And it wasn't just a good idea in one place. Atlatls have been found in Europe, in the Americas, in Australia. Nearly every part of the world humans lived, they arrived, independently, at the same basic solution. In the Americas, ancient hunters used the atlatl to bring down some of the largest animals that have ever walked the earth. Woolly mammoths and mastodons, animals that dwarfed any human many times over. Some researchers have even suggested that the sheer hunting efficiency the atlatl provided may have contributed to the extinction of some of these massive prehistoric species. Not bad, for a weapon that's essentially just a stick with a hook on it. If the atlatl was humanity's first machine, the bow and arrow was the moment that machine got precise. The oldest confirmed evidence of bow and arrow technology dates back roughly 54,000 years, found at a site called Mandrin in France, though the technology likely appeared even earlier, and possibly independently, in multiple regions. The advantages over the atlatl were significant. Arrows were smaller and lighter than atlatl darts, meaning a hunter needed far fewer resources to make more of them. The bow offered greater accuracy at range, and required less physical space to use effectively, useful in dense forests where swinging a full spear-throwing motion simply wasn't practical. The transition wasn't instant, though. In many parts of the world, the bow and arrow gradually replaced the atlatl somewhere between roughly 15,000 and 2,000 years ago, and for long stretches of that transition, both weapons were used side by side. each one better suited to different prey, different terrain, different hunting styles. Even after the bow became dominant, the atlatl never fully disappeared. It's still used today by traditional hunters in parts of the Arctic and by indigenous Australian communities. A 40,000-year-old piece of technology, still doing exactly the job it was designed for. The bow and arrow wasn't the final upgrade either. Around 10,000 BCE, possibly earlier, humans developed the sling, a simple pouch of hide or woven fiber, spun and released to hurl a stone at genuinely startling speed. Skilled slingers could launch a projectile at estimated speeds of 60 to 100 miles per hour, with enough force to kill or seriously injure both animals and human opponents. This wasn't a toy. Entire ancient armies, including the Romans, used trained slingers as a serious battlefield weapon. And here's the part that matters just as much as any single weapon. Almost none of these tools started their life as instruments of war. Spears, atlatls, bows, all of it was developed overwhelmingly for hunting, feeding a family, feeding a tribe, survival, not conquest. It was only much later, as populations grew, as resources became contested, as tribes and then civilizations began competing directly with each other, that the exact same tools built to hunt animals started being turned deliberately on other humans. The purpose changed. The technology, for a long time, didn't have to. So the next time you see a bow, an arrow, or even just a sharpened stick in a museum case, remember what it actually represents. Not a weapon built for war, but hundreds of thousands of years of a fragile, clawless species refusing to stay at the bottom of the food chain. We didn't get here because we were the strongest animal. We got here because we were the ones who looked at a rock and asked what else it could become. Which of these ancient weapons do you think you could actually use? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe for more on how ancient humans built the world we live in today.